stuff to work on. We're just getting started, so we're implementing some things and also playing a little bit.
How many practices is this so far for after today?
When did we start? This is 5. So this is day 5.
So 5 practices in, how different is it already from last year's training camp?
Oh, night and day.
Night and day.
Night and day, a lot of returners. You know, they kind of have an idea of how it goes, and then also being able to have a fall and a summer with them.
Is this the most returners you've had since you came here? I mean, was it the first year maybe the most returners you've had since then?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what difference has that made than having all these guys come back after seeing them play last year and the year before?
They know what to expect a little more, you know, which really helps. And they've been through a little bit, so there's not everything's new.
You mentioned last year how the preseason you weren't able to have a lot of team building exercises, a lot of moments where you had the team together. Have you had some of those so far in training camp, and how they made a difference?
Yeah, definitely. We had a few things that we did early in training camp that's about team building, and then just being on the floor together also helps. Okay.
Did you notice that kind of difference, like on the court last year, where not having those team building exercises, not having the team unity, kind of hurt? Was that an issue?
It wasn't more team building; it was practicing.
Practicing.
You know, it's not about the kumbaya stuff as much. Yeah, we do a few of those things, and they're always great. But it was more actually having 10 new guys and not knowing who does what, when, and why, and how, and being able to hold accountable. You know, now with going into a spring and a summer and a fall camp, you know, young men it's kind of fair. They've been told and drilled to do certain things, and some of them are really doing well. And if they're not doing it, you can actually hold them accountable. You can decide who you're going to put out there first and who's in your rotations. When you don't practice, then there's no accountability. So they're just sitting here listening to what you want, but I don't have any data on who's doing it in practice and who's being consistent. So now you're putting them out in the game and hoping they're doing what you ask, instead of now I have data on, all right, this is why these guys are in the rotation early, and this is what you need to do to surpass them or be with them. I mean, it was more that than the camaraderie. Now that also adds into it also. That's nice to have guys being able to go to football games and dinners at the house at times, but we're still staying really safe.
So you mentioned in the team aspect of practice, being able to actually be on the court together is a big difference. In these first 4 practices and then going into tonight, what have you seen in practice that shows that they're starting to really get it on the court, being able to follow what you want them to do?
You just see day-to-day improvements that you're proud of and that you wanted to acknowledge. You know, there's not anything specific that, hey, we got this down pat now. I mean, it's still 5 days in, and we still got to play games. We still don't have any seniors. But you just see day-to-day victories that you want to make sure that you acknowledge and you show, and that's exciting.
What have you seen from your returners, first with Orlando, the difference between where he was in March to now where he's at? And what has his skill set grown? And
he's a lot stronger. You know, he's had a chance to be in the weight room for a while, so he's a lot stronger. You know, that's the first thing that's noticeable, is he's in better conditioning and he's stronger. He was a little worn down by the end of the year last year, you know, which a lot of basketball players were, you know, at a lot of different levels with not having those training camps, you know, and a lot stronger, and he's a little bit more experienced. So, you know, the experience is a great teacher.
Do you think he has a good shot at getting his goal, a double-double average this year?
He's gonna have to work for it.
Yeah.
You know, it's cool to say what we're gonna do, and having goals is great as long as they're, you know, in line with the team. And I think it's very doable for him to average a double-double, but he's not gonna just be able to go out and say it and do it. He's gonna have to go out and get it done, and I believe in him.
So if if he averages a double-double, does that help the team in terms of what his role is on this team?
It does.
It does?
It does. It aligns with the team.
Is he going to be more of that center position, more of a 4? Have you really decided where he's best suited at for not just this year for Fresno State, but where he might end up on the next level?
You know, we a lot of the stuff we do here is always going to translate. Basketball is basketball. We're not going to ask him to do anything that won't translate for wins. We're not going to ask him to do anything that doesn't translate to help him. You know, so it's, you know, basketball has become more positionless as it is. You know, he's going to play to his strengths and stay away from the weaknesses. So I can see at times where he'll be the biggest guy on the floor, and there'll be times where, you know, he's in there with Braxton. But, you know, his role and what he does doesn't necessarily change in that fashion.
Would you describe his game as being more so like a versatile player, like able to shoot outside, able to be a post-up player? Is that more of his strength as opposed to a banger down low? Or?
His versatility is his strength, absolutely.
And Braxton Mead, I mean, where has he grown, and is he someone who you can see him getting more minutes and breaking into that rotation a little bit more?
That's what we're working on now, and I do see that. I mean, we're hoping for that. He's a talented young man, so we're hoping that he steps his head up and peeks out a little bit and does what he's supposed to do, so he can earn more minutes.
Step his head up and peek out a little bit. He's already tall enough. He's 7 foot tall.
Exactly. Yeah, he's definitely been able to see. And I think we're talking about more with his mentality.
Okay, absolutely.
Yeah, with his mentality.
How many returners do you have off the top of your head? You got like the whole starting 5 and then Jamar. 10 returners?
10 returners. Okay.
So when you had those team building exercises, you mentioned that earlier in the interview. I mean, what were those exercises like? And did you see not just the kumbaya, but something that can translate onto the court and be successful?
We're working on that now. You know, in practice 5, that's what we're working on now to see if it's going to translate. And anything you spend time with or money for, you know, you're doing it for a reason, hopefully, right? So yeah, we're going to see if it translates to the basketball floor.
What were those exercises though that you're referring to?
You know, we've had some conditioning exercises, some calisthenics, some different team building, some leadership, some accountability, some detail that, you know. So we've also had where we just hung out and had meals together, you know, get to know each other. But the things that we really worked on was accountability and details, and we'll see how that translates over onto the basketball floor.
Is there a guy who's really emerged as a leader during these exercises? Somebody who you noticed is leading the conditioning, leading the sprints, or at the get-togethers watching TV? I mean, someone who's just
those are emerging right now. You know,
No,
they're emerging right now. Yeah, we have some candidates that are probably going to lead us, but it's still emerging right now. And you're right. It has to start with them doing it the best themselves, leading themselves. But then it goes next to helping everybody else.
A guy that I'm interested in is Dion Stroud. I mean, he entered the NBA draft, got evaluations. Have you noticed something different about him since that process that has showed itself? I mean, it's really early, like you said, but it showed itself already in the first 4 practices?
No, not yet. I think we've talked about it, and I had him all summer. So, you know, it wasn't like he wasn't around until now. Then I might be able to, it's like, you know, when you see somebody and they lost some weight, if you're around them every day, you might not see it as much if somebody's not there.
So with Stroud, I mean, is he a guy that you want to you have higher expectations for than the previous year because of the talent that he's shown last year in glimpses?
He's very talented. We're looking for him to put more stretches together of playing the right way, defending, taking care of the ball, taking good shots, you know. But he's very talented and he's worked really hard this summer.
The new guy, Jamar Baker, I mean, how was he brought into the team as he kind of seamlessly entered into this team of 10 returners as someone that they're pretty cool with?
Yeah, his personality is easy to mesh. You know, he's got a high character, hard worker, you know, very talented, mature. So when you're that way, it's easier for you to mesh in with a group.
How has he shown his flashes of being at Kentucky and being at Arizona? Does that help the maturity, the fact that he's been at 2 major stops so far in his career?
Yeah, those experiences, you know, if you're a person that takes those experiences and tries to learn from them, then it definitely can help your maturity. You know, not everybody learns from their experiences that fast, right? They're still the same person, but that's not Jamal. Jamal has definitely taken those experiences and saw things that he could maybe do better, things he liked, he didn't like, and he's learned from those mistakes or the good things that he did.
So how much longer do you have left in preseason? If you could say where right now you are in the process of getting ready for game 1, where would that be? Are you guys basically entering the starting blocks, or you guys already started the race?
We've already started the race. Yeah.
So where do you guys have to go from here in terms of training camp?
To get better every day. You know, there's little challenges every day, and learn and be accountable to one another. I get better every day. It's it's not one day that's going to get us there. You know, we have to continue to learn and play together and get better at what we're trying to do every day.
Compared to past training camps, I mean, how does this one feel with all the returners you have coming back? I mean, is this comparable more to 2018 than 19 or 20?
Compares more to my first year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Year 2 and 3 were different.
Well, one had COVID, so obviously
Yeah.
that was great.
Year 2 and 3 was a little different, but it compares more to the first year.
And my last question is about non-conference schedule. I mean, that schedule you have, how do you feel about it being able to get you ready for the Mountain West, considering that there's some non-conference foes like Cal and Utah who you get to face that might be comparable to San Diego State or Boise?
Yeah, you got to play who's on our schedule, and we're happy with our schedule. We like our schedule. You know, we got a few tough road games, a couple tough home games, and so it's going to prepare us for the Mountain West.
Oh, I just saw one real quick. The home team. I mean, you guys are a home team now and get a home crowd. I mean, is that going to be something that you're going to be looking forward to with Clay Pacific in the first game?
Absolutely. We're looking forward to having the Red Wave back in the Save Mart Center. See if we can get them down in the bottom row, create an atmosphere, and we'll be.
You know, I think our guys have a sense of pride about it. I wouldn't say they're overly prideful about it, but I think they're aware of what it means. You know, I think they're aware of the effect it can have on the community. I think it's something that they speak about internally. They mentioned to us a little bit. And they understand that if they play hard, if they play together, you know, they're a talented group. But if it comes together the right way, that it's something that the Valley can absolutely get behind. And I know that we were intentional about that with recruiting. I know that if the guys that are good enough to be home, we would like to keep them home. You know, if they can help us win a championship and they're from here, it's absolutely we want to try and get them, is keep those guys home so that the guys in the blue, red, and white are representing well and they're exciting on the floor. So I definitely think the chemistry's grown a lot, but I do think our guys are aware of it, and I think that it's something that'll be exciting for the fans. You know, we definitely look to keep the local guys home, and the guys that are good enough, the guys that definitely want to be home, we want to keep them home. So, you know, making that something that we hang our hat on, something that we're going to continue to try and do. I think the fans will be excited about that. I think locally people will be happy to see that, because when you're homegrown and you're successful and you're good enough to help this program win, I mean, you can see it in football right now. You know, a lot of local guys who are helping this program win and be nationally recognized. There's no better feeling than that if you're from this area. I'm from this area. Coach is from this area. Coach Brown has ties in this area, and we all understand the importance and the value of that. So.
Dion, you went through the process of NBA draft, got evaluations. Have you talked to him about that, and what did he take from that experience that could be of use and benefit to Fresno State men's basketball this year?
I'm a big fan of the NCAA changing that. I'm a big fan of guys testing the waters and getting that experience for themselves. You know, specifically with our team, Orlando and Dion. I know Orlando had a little bit better numbers in his second year with us, and Dion had a pretty good first year with us. I think he had a big growth gap, you know, from that first month to that third month, where you just saw him change and develop, especially near the end. You were like, okay, Dion's got a chance to be really good. So with the draft process, you know, I was happy for him. You know, he told us he wanted to announce. He told us he wanted to work out and get an evaluation and get some feedback from professionals, and you know, we were all for it. So when he decided to come back, the conversations about why, you know, and what did you learn and how are you going to apply it, you know, when you get back to work, he was a changed person, you know, and that's what you would hope that experience would do for somebody who does decide to come back, is they know what level they're trying to get to. They have the feedback they need. Obviously, you've been giving them feedback and evaluation as you go along and holding them accountable for things, but you know, Dion understood. And sometimes hearing it from a different place makes a difference. And I think he worked that much harder, you know, as a result of, I went through the process, they told me what I needed to do. I have a pretty good picture of what I need to do in their eyes, and it matches up with the coaches have been telling me as well. So I'm excited to get back to work, excited about the group we have. He's been great, you know, ever since.
Do you feel like he has the most potential on this team to break out, considering we saw the glimpses of talent last year with the 360 dunks and the highlight plays? Obviously, there were some mistakes he made last year on the court, but do you feel like, considering what he learned throughout the summer, that he has the highest breakout potential of any Bulldog right now?
It's close. You know, I think his growth is invaluable to our group. You know, I think for us to have an extremely special year, I think he needs to be special. And his assist-to-turnover ratio wasn't good enough last year. It was bad. And he can't turn the ball over. He's got to be smart aggressive. He's got to make the easy play. You know, part of his game that is good is that he presses the issue to be aggressive and score. So he has to continue to find that balance and watch the film and see what spots are good, what spots are bad. But I do think his growth is going to be so important to us. It's been important thus far, but in the big scheme of things, in order for us to have a special year, I think Deion Stroud has to be special.
Orlando probably would be in that equation as well. I mean, according to Coach Hutt, he got bigger Do you foresee him having more of a 4 role where he's outside shooting, or a 5 role as a center, or is it going to be like what Hutz said, which is whatever the team needs, he's versatile enough to do both?
I think Orlando will tell you it's whatever the team needs as well. You know, with the game of basketball, you know, a lot of high school guys get into numbers, right? I'm a 1, I'm a 2, I'm a 3, I'm a 4, I'm a 5. The more you learn about college basketball, you're playing to your strengths, you know, and then you're playing against certain mismatches and strengths and advantages that you have per game. So, you know, with Orlando, his versatility is going to show every single game, no matter who's on him. You know, if he's got a slower-footed guy on him, you know, we're going to showcase him, and he's going to understand to be more of a perimeter player and play off closeouts and shoot the jump shot and make plays for others. And if he's got a guy he feels like he can be physical with inside, you know, he's aware of things like that, where he's like, I can take advantage of this guy and get easy baskets or draw help, you know, and find my teammates and make easy plays that way. So, you know, with him, a number isn't necessarily what any of us talk about or worry about. It's more about matchups. It's more about playing him to his strengths, you know, each game, and then showcasing that he can play all over the floor and be efficient.
When he went up against Keita from Utah State, I think that was one of the more prolific and high matchups of the season. And what did you see in that matchup, if you can remember back to it, that showed you he still has some room to grow, and what showed you he can stand up well against this guy who's an NBA center now?
You know, what I did see was that, you know, when he goes up against an NBA caliber guy, it doesn't look like he's not on the same level. You know, Keita was and will be one of the best defenders to come out of the Mountain West Conference. You know, he did a great job rim protecting. He was a good individual post defender. You saw that he was good at one or two things, and that's what allowed him to get drafted. You know, you also saw when you watched that Orlando was more versatile than he was. Orlando could face and shoot better. Orlando could drive better. Orlando's game actually kind of fit more of the modern day NBA versatile big, whereas Keita was like, I'm going to be an extremely successful college basketball player, and these things are going to translate no matter where I go. So their games are completely different, but I thought Orlando really showed against Keita that, hey, if you're going to guard me this way inside, I can take you outside. You know, I can play you from the elbow, I can play you from the post and face you. And then obviously when you watch the games, you know, with Keita on him or not, Orlando still drew a lot of attention. You know, it wasn't just one-on-one all the time. And that's one of the special things about Orlando is that he can take you different places on the floor, and he's going to demand usually more than one person to be guarding him.
Now that he's bigger, do you think that he may have more of an advantage in those matchups because he's bigger? And do you think there's going to be any other Keitas this year that he has to face that we might be able to measure, okay, this was him last year against Keita, now this is him this year against who?
I think from the entire experience that Orlando's had since he's been here, I think obviously not having a summer last year because of COVID and not really being able to get with our strength and conditioning coach and get the full summer that he had this last summer, I do think that'll make a difference no matter what the matchup is. But I think the beautiful thing about Orlando is that he understands that defenses are scheming for him. So he doesn't necessarily have a one-on-one mindset where my matchup, I'm going to go ahead in this way, I'm going to go that way. He knows that he has advantages in certain ways, but he's also very aware of the attention he draws. You know, so when speaking to him about the matchups and things of that nature and preparing his body, it's kind of a multi-part deal. I'm preparing for the length of a season. I'm preparing to be a high-minute volume guy, a high-production guy. I'm preparing for guys to be physical with me. I'm preparing for guys to box me out harder. I'm preparing for guys to circle my name twice, you know, on the roster and understand that this matchup is something that they're going to have to really bring it, you know, or I can have a wonderful night and my team can win big. So with O, I definitely think the weight helps him, the strength helps him. He's a guy who prepares. You know, he's been in the gym, he's been in the weight room, he's taking care of his body, he's eating right, he's watching the extra film. And I think all of that's going to come together to help him be productive no matter what the matchup or the coverage is looking like.
With all that attention, the pain, I mean, you got some shooters out there like Ballard and now Jamar Baker who can, you know, show themselves to be very versatile and useful in that category. First with Ballard, I mean, a guy last year who had his ups and downs. What have you noticed about him during the summer and 4 practices into training camp that has shown you that he's a better player than he was last year?
You know, his work ethic is extremely high. You know, Junior is a guy who I think was probably 2 weeks after the season, he was in the gym working on his jump shot. He wasn't satisfied. He wasn't happy with his numbers, with his percentages. You know, we go back and we watch the tape, we watch his shots, we watch his decision making, and he's just eager to learn and get better. You know, I'm excited about him because he is intentional about who he wants to be on the floor. He wants to be an impact player. He wants to make shots. He wants to make good decisions. He wants to help his team win in any way that he can. And I think he went about his offseason that way every single day as best he could. So I know that he'll make more shots. I know he'll shoot a better percentage. I'm very confident in that because of his experience with Orlando, having a little bit more chemistry, understanding where to be. And again, kind of like Orlando, he had an offseason, to get back in the gym, to evaluate things, and to really feel good about, his game.
And then now, down with Ballard, with Baker now, I mean, is that a guy that when you recruited him, you saw potential for him being an outside shooter that can be complementary with Robinson and Mia?
Yeah, with Jamal, we were so excited to get him because he's mature, he's got experience. Obviously, when you look at his basketball resume, Minds Beyond Ours had evaluated him and said that he belongs, at a certain level in certain places and having certain opportunities. So, I've been pleasantly surprised, and I've been excited about what Jamal has brought to the table, from a leadership standpoint, from a shot-making standpoint, defensive standpoint. He's so much more than just a shooter. Jamal is a basketball player with a lot of leadership qualities about him, and he wants to win, and he shows that every day. He's not a big talker. He gets out and he shows that he's going to be in the right spots. He shows that he understands what concepts we're trying to get done, what we're trying to work on. He shows that he's going to be in the right spots. He's shown that he can lead and help other guys be in the right spots. And then he shows that he can finish possessions by either making a good play or making a shot. He's been really good for us in a lot of different ways, and he's feeling good about his body. So I'm hoping that leads to the best year he's had, in college basketball so
We've got
far.
time for one more question.
Yes. When during the preseason, I guess you can call it, you start deciding when you're going to have where the rotations are going to be? I know it's only 4 days in, and Hutson says there's a day by day. We're not even close to the season yet, but when do you start deciding if Baker's going to be your starting guy at the 2, and when Ballard's going to come in, and when all these guys are going to have their moments to play with each other? When does that come in?
Shoot, that might be more of a head coaching question, to be honest with you.
I'll keep that in mind.
With what we do and how we practice, guys are given an opportunity to compete for starting positions every single day. Obviously, I think with a guy like Orlando, you probably know that he's going to have a certain level of responsibility on the floor. I think with the way Isaiah finished the season and how he started to lead and step up and take care of the ball and make good plays, I think you kind of lock those guys in for a certain amount of minutes. I think you expect Jamal to be a starter, or Dion to step in and do certain things, or Anthony Holland, who's finished most of the games that he's been in, been in the last 4 minutes, who you trust as a freshman and a sophomore. You expect him to be in the game as well. So, we don't lock in guys necessarily. We do try different lineups, obviously, and see what things look like, see what they are on film, and then we stat them. You measure them to see, hey, well, this is what we did. Hey, these were your numbers. So, the film doesn't lie, the stats don't lie, but obviously that's head coach decision, and he's going to talk to us about it. What do you guys think? Here's the film, here's what it says, but it's a process. Guys got to bring it every day. You got to earn that, and our guys are working toward that right now.